Hello, Barendipitous here. Here's another video about my personal art journey. So, here I'm going to share basically my first 30 days of regular drawing practice. Practice just drawing for fun in general. And I'll kind of go through the various steps I've taken and everything. Overall, I don't think my drawing practice or drawing in general has been the most focused necessarily. I've been kind of a little bit all over the place, as you'll see, but I feel like I have a little bit of a direction for right now. So, basically, I just grabbed a sketchbook that we had lying around the house. This Crayola sketchbook, I figured it was as good place as any. I generally didn't really want to get too fancy with any materials or whatever. I didn't see any point in spending a bunch of money, and if I'm just sort of like starting out. Case in point as well, I've been using this pencil case of this Avengers pencil case with just normal pencils and pens, and eraser and a pencil sharpener in there. That's basically been my my materials. So anyway, without further ado, here we go. So first, I generally just kind of started drawing whatever I thought would be fun, and just observing and things like that. You'll see the first day I started actually drawing in earnest was February 26th, 2026. And a few things are just like things that I drew. I was very impressed with this. This is my shoe. When I had my legs, one leg crossed over the other, I just kind of drew my shoe. And I was honestly very surprised that I was able to draw this as well as I did. And I drew a couple of OCs, especially Dungeons and Dragons OCs. You'll see that, especially when it comes to people, like human figures, it's very much very similar to what you have seen with the prologue in this playlist of the way that I draw people. But anyway, just drawing like little notes of some D&D characters, my Barendipitous OC, some magic effects and things like that, or whatever. And also at the library, I used some scratch paper to doodle a few things. Basically, so I noticed, I was drawing, once again, I was drawing a couple of things that I just kind of saw around me, like a fire hydrant and a bell. But then I noticed that this piece of paper was specifically, it was like some tossed scratch paper or something that was going to be recycled anyway. This is this piece of paper shows lines from Pride and Prejudice, like a screenplay, or more like a theatrical script. And I noticed that the highlighted section on this piece of paper was the scene in which Mr. Collins proposes to Elizabeth Bennet. And so I thought it'd be fun to try to draw Mr. Collins and Elizabeth Bennet, kind of using this text here as inspiration, and a little flower pot as well, because why not? Inspired by some Lego flowers that we had around the house. So anyway, I'm honestly pretty happy with, even though I'm not great at drawing people at this point. Very happy about the way that I drew these expressions. Anyway, continuing on, I noticed that the blue pen I used kind of bled through the paper, so I left this blank. Kind of made a note saying, "Yeah, I'm leaving this blank." I enjoyed the pen that I used, but it wasn't very good on this particular paper. The next day I just kind of had a bit of fun here. I should, with a lot of different expressions and shapes and stuff. I should mention at this point, I've been thinking about like trying to get a little better at drawing for a while, but this really is what kickstarted it. My practice here. So, Cursed Princess Club, one of my absolute favorite comics, is on Webtoons, and one of my favorite Webtoons, or just webcomics in general. And so Cobweb and I are purchasing it's being published in physical form now, and so we're purchasing each volume as it comes, although we've read the whole thing digitally. Anyway, we also got this Learn to Draw Cursed Princess Club. I thought it'd be kind of fun, whatever. And I was kind of surprised. I didn't expect too much from this, but I was really surprised how many like good. Not only does it give you a lot of a lot of tips on how to draw these specific characters, but also how to draw in general, as well as like how to create your own webtoon, right? And so it talks about very basic things about like the head, eye shape, proportions, the body, and then it goes into more specific characters, right? And so I thought, maybe to start out with, I will go through the general sort of exercises and demonstrations in this book. So I started with head and face, and kind of drawing inspiration from this for various expressions. That's what I did here. I practiced, drawing faces, and this is where I actually learned. So every other time I had ever like drawn a human figure, it was always like this circle, like a circle head, essentially, right? And I think this is the first time I've ever actually started regularly drawing a chin, an actual shape underneath the circle and I realized it just sort of unlocked something in my brain. I'm like, wow, you can actually make really good faces just from this. I know it's such a simple thing, but you can see I did a lot. I was experimenting a lot with different head shapes and so forth. Also learning how, at least cartoon or anime inspired eyes work. Cursed Princess Club, another thing that inspired me is that it's the creator, Lamcat, is self-taught. Lamcat comes from more of a music background, but she taught herself how to draw, and from the very beginning of the webtoon to the end, you can see how much she has improved, tremendously. And of course, she is very inspired by anime and other things like that. So yeah, so I tried putting that into practice in larger heads, myself and my wife Cobweb IRL, as well as our respective OCs. I said proportions are hard, but I can get better. I don't like how these turned out, but I don't know. It was just so much fun to this kind of cartoony style, and just making stuff up with the different kinds of eyes, and everything. This guy really is the limit. You can make all kinds of crazy expressions. All right, so here is where I decided to actually start practicing the various characters that are in the book. If nothing else, just to kind of get used to drawing certain proportions. At least like drawing proportions a little bit better. And I think it definitely has helped. So in this book, after talking about like materials and like general proportions and stuff like that, they go into the step-by-step drawing here. So I did that for every single character that has a step-by-step in here. So you can see we have Gwen. I'll go into like the full bodies later. Gwen's sister Maria. You can see the kind of the comparison between my drawing and the official drawing here. And then Lorena, and then Prince Jamie. These are all the pastel siblings. These are all four of these are siblings. And then I decided, for fun, to try to draw just from reference. And so I, oh gosh, where's the image? Here we go. Okay, I use this reference right here. Of King Jack, the father of these four siblings. I did the same thing with the Plaid Princes, Frederick, Blaine, and Lance, and then reference with King Leland here, their father. But so that was really good. That was really good practice for me. So anyway, Frederick there. Definitely not exact, but it certainly helped me to get a better feel for how to draw people. So yeah, Blaine and Lance, they're pretty similar. So there we go. Yeah, following the book step by step. And then I moved on to full body. So once again, went in, here's the comparison. We have Gwendolyn here. Then we have Gwendolyn's oldest sister, Maria. Then the middle sister, middle sister, Lorena. And then Prince Jamie, who is the same age as Gwendolyn. And then I just kind of moved straight on to the Plaid Princes here. So we have Frederick. I also appreciate that as we go along here, the pose and the perspective changes a little bit. And I just drew Lance. There wasn't any step by step for Blaine because they're basically Lance and Blaine are extremely similar. And then moving on to members of the Cursed Princess Club themselves. These are various princesses that have had curses placed upon them and they've never found cures for them. And so Prez, or President for short, Princess Calpurnia, started the club. And it's basically a club where these princesses work, spend time together and, learn to accept themselves. We have Princess Thermidora. She's not a human. She's a lobster who's been turned into a human. Oh, here we go. That's the full thing right there. Then we have, I guess Sarah was next. Princess Sarah. She basically has a Pinocchio nose. And then Monica, who turns into a bird when she gets anxious. Moving on to the next page here. More cursed princesses. We have Abby, who is 15 years old, but is basically cursed to look like she's a lot older. Jolie, who has basically a hollow skull. She uses adorable eye masks to make it look like she has eyes. Prince Saffron is a member of the Cursed Princess Club. He's one of the only princes in that club. He has a hand that was enchanted by a goblin and it kind of acts on its own. And then we have Prince Whitney, who, a lot of stuff happened to him. Kind of spoilers with that one. And we have Laverne, who is a very pampered llama from the Plaid Kingdom. And you can see here's how I drew Laverne here. All in all, I don't think that's too shabby, all things considered. And that was the end of the Cursed Princess Club practice. And I decided, okay, I'll just kind of move on to trying to do my own thing for a little bit. I've been watching... okay. So in March 10th through the 15th of 2026, I was working... I was not drawing in the sketchbook. Instead, I was working on the Modern Monomi comic, which I have shown in another video already. So no need to do... Anyway, I'm very proud of that. I've been watching the Spilled Ink YouTube channel, which is run by Emerichu and Didas. And they had an episode where they were going over character designs. And so this is kind of my attempts at sort of like trying to draw Baron and like sort of maybe solidifying at least a few details of his design. I'm not too happy with like some of the poses I was attempting to draw. I probably should have used more reference. And I drew a sort of small model mannequin. More just sort of like aimless drawing. Maybe not aimless, but just kind of like drawing whatever, like a cool stick figure idea I saw. I'm just noticing that I've just been noticing I'm very good at drawing, just like observing and drawing in general. Again, it might not be perfect, but these are my own hands. I was literally looking at my hand while drawing and, drew this and then looked at my other hand, which is holding an eraser, essentially. This is just sort of shows that reference really ups your game. I've always known that, reference is good. Like, I have no problem with that. I was just sort of amazed at how much of a level up that was. Then I came across an idea where I could use Pinterest boards as inspiration. And so I asked my wife Cobweb to send me some of her Pinterest boards, and she has one called My Style, or like a style of, or dresses, something about style or dresses or whatever. And so I drew some of the dresses that, I drew the dresses as if she was wearing them. Which I had fun with that. Just this kind of idea of sort of like spending 3 minutes drawing something, essentially. And then I wanted to fill up this page, and so I just kind of just doodled. I just started doodling a wizard tower, and it just got more and more ridiculous as I went up. And then I went over here and started drawing a castle, and then a gate, and then a wagon. Then I'm like, oh, what if there was like this like king guy? And then I drew this guy, and then I drew this princess kind of character. I was again just sort of like doodling and having fun with various expressions, and then I just kind of had this idea. Wait, so just by looking at this, you can potentially like surmise that maybe this guy's a villain, this is a henchman, and maybe this is like a princess who's like either a hero or a victim of something, of some scheme or whatever. But I thought, well, what if you take these four characters, person on the horse, the king, this guy, and the princess, um, who really is the hero? Who is the sidekick slash support? Who is the villain? Who's the henchman slash henchwoman? Um, and what would the story be like if the roles were switched around in different ways? Just a fun thing. I got to think about lore. I decided I checked out a bunch of library books up at my local library about drawing, and I was attempting to sort of get better specifically at the human figure. And so there were some books that helped me kind of like get a better sense for human proportions, male and female human proportions. So I did a couple of these like basic figure studies and various poses and stuff. And I had the idea to, so this was a Greek statue pose that I just kind of like tried to sketch. And then I had this idea like, wait, like League of Legends and Riftbound, Riot Games stuff, has some fantastic figure drawings and splash art that I could use as pose inspiration. So PsyOps Sona splash art. I actually drew some students studying at my local library, so that was fun. And then, yeah, Renata Glask, Sand Soldier, Riftbound Recruit, Robot, and Aurelia from Riftbound. These are Riftbound cards. I was just trying to practice drawing the human figure in various ways. This is some more figure drawings. This time, I was specifically using this thing right here. I realized that this pencil case has some really dynamic, superhero poses. So I did just that. Drew Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Black Widow, Hawkeye, and Falcon. And then at this point I kind of thought, I think I want to try to like do a little more than just figure drawing, right? So I took a lot of these poses and drew some characters, some of my own characters. Well, I say but like characters that I created, along with I and a couple of other people helped create some of these, especially the artist Aster. So you can see these same poses. Not too happy with a couple of these, but basically dressing the mannequins, essentially. But this took, of course, a lot because this was 6 whole characters, right? And so I decided to sort of simplify things a little bit and thought, it might be fun to draw some public domain characters. So I have Sherlock Holmes here. I am very, very, this was so much fun to draw. I just, once again, sort of like the faces and busts in this sort of like cartoonish style. And of course, Dr. John Watson. These were a lot of fun. I liked this. I enjoyed this a lot. I just had this idea in my head of how I could draw Sherlock Holmes as this sort of inquisitive kind of character. I realized later that these two characters, theoretically show up in Caspian's lore, and so I made a post on Twitter saying, POV, you find the guy who steals the queen's necklace, and all he does is call you stupid or something like that. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with that. And so I, moved on to starting to draw Brawlhalla characters. I decided to start with the first legend, Bodvar, and for each drawing at this point, I have been using a quote from their lore as the inspiration for the drawing itself. Because every single legend's lore has 2 quotes. One quote about the legend and one quote from the legend. So I've been using the quote from the legend to as an inspiration for the drawing, and I've been trying to draw each of these legends in ways that we've never really seen them before, or doing something we've never seen them do before. So here we have Bodvar. The full quote is, "Listen, you 9-mouthed bridge troll, I'm going in, and the first drink I'm having is the one in your fist." I sort of abbreviated it to this, where he's pointing at Heimdall, saying, "I'm going in." I'm really happy with this. I decided to add some fancy shenanigans with a pen as well. Here Cassidy is saying, "You're just going to stand behind me looking all fired stupid, or are you going to draw?" And we have this cool sort of like sunset, tumbleweed. I added shadow over her eyes because of the hat, as well as sort of because to kind of make her seem a little more intimidating. With Orion, literally his quote is, "Here I am called Orion." So I just had this silly idea of that "Hello, my name is" kind of sticker, and then Orion just kind of pointing to it like, "Yep, my name's Orion." Armor is hard. And then I drew this one today. This is Lord Vrax saying, "Now, Landstar champion, I've beaten you at laser sword dueling, just as I've beaten you at everything else. But I will keep you alive long enough to witness my final victory." And it sort of occurred when I read this. It sort of occurred to me that first of all, he's very proud of himself, and I just kind of thought, wait, I don't think we've really seen an illustration of Vrax with his eye closed. I'm sure we've seen his eye closed in like animation or something, but I've never actually seen an illustration of that. So here's him sort of like, patting himself on the chest, being all proud of himself. The Brawlhalla splash art was really helpful to get this grin. I tried to make this, anyway, I'm very proud of this whole expression. I think the Cassidy and the Vrax are the ones that I'm the most proud of these four. But I will continue going through the Brawlhalla Legends, drawing these kind of like waist up drawings. They're a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with them. And like I said at the beginning, I've been very sort of scattered. I've like even when I was sort of like following the Cursed Princess Club book, I found myself getting rather bored and unfocused during some of that. And so I think in terms of learning to draw, my approach is like this. I want to always have fun drawing, right? And so my primary focus will be draw what I find fun, okay? Now, how am I going to improve? Well, first of all, just drawing every day and actually, drawing it, doing intentional drawings every day will help me improve to some degree. But I'm also going to take a problem-focused approach as well. If I find myself really struggling with a certain aspect of drawing, and I really want to improve on that specific aspect, then I will focus on that. That way, when I do focus on something for a longer period of time, then I will want to, essentially. But for now, I'm doing this. Basically, any ideas that come to me is what I'm drawing, and I already feel like I'm improving after 30 days. So I'm just being a lot more intentional. And by the way, I'm already starting another comic, another 10-page comic. This is a page one preview. This is not a Brawlhalla comic. This is more of a Lovecraftian horror, cosmic horror idea that I've had for about a decade, and I finally haven't really had any other place to put this story idea that I have. I'm finally putting it in a comic book form. I just ripped a few pages from this sketchbook and folded it in half to make this. Anyway, I think this is coming along very well. I'll make a separate video when this is finished. So, but yeah, really looking forward to showing this off. But yeah, that is my 30-day progress. Once again, here is day 1, and then day 30. Yeah, not sure when I'll do another sort of like benchmark, maybe 100 days or 60 days. I'm not sure. We'll see. But yeah, I plan on making more videos of my art journey, so stay tuned for that. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, all the best.